We'll give it just a second to connect. Sometimes it takes a second for it to. There it goes. All righty. Hopefully we have got everybody. All right. It says we are live, so we are going to get rolling here. Thanks to everyone who is joining us today for our live with Brandon Clement. If you were with us last time, you know that we have shifted our live discussions to the YouTube platform for Girls Who Chase. We used to be on Twitter Spaces, so now you get to see our lovely faces, kind of no matter where we're at. And I'm looking forward to Brandon explaining his background and where he's located. And so what we'll do is we're going to have him share a little bit of an update, and then we will open it up for questions. So I'll be watching the chat once Brandon takes over here. So you're welcome to drop your questions and thoughts in the chat, and we will go from there. Just a quick introduction of me. I'm Jen Walton. I'm the founder of Girls Who Chase. Like I mentioned, we used to host discussions about storm chasing related topics all the time on Twitter Spaces. We have shifted to YouTube for that now, but should be having these somewhat regularly, monthly. We may slow down just a tad as we get into the bulk of the chase season here. So just a quick introduction to Girls Who Chase. We're a global media and education initiative focused on encouraging participation and access to fields where women have traditionally been underrepresented, including storm chasing and extreme nature reporting, extreme weather and natural disaster research, and disaster response. We are also globally recognized as a producer of accessible, high quality weather education programs. We have one coming up this Saturday that I will talk briefly about at some point during this live. And you can join us in all kinds of ways, support us, and follow our work at girlswhochase.com. So I'm going to hand this over to Brandon now to introduce himself and talk about the topic of the day. And like I said, if you all have questions, please drop them in the chat and I will keep an eye on things and then send them over to him once he's done talking. And thanks for joining us today, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I am Brandon Clement. I am a storm chaser, videographer, work with media companies. My company is WX Chasing. Also work with a lot like uh, contracts to different media companies as well as freelance. Got a bunch of different ways that I've created kind of ways to make a living storm chasing. And that living gives me the opportunity to chase storms all the time, anywhere, all over the world. So it's very important to me to sustain my way of living because chasing storms is very important to me. Um, through the years, I have run into a little problem called copyright infringement. And when I'm out working and buying the state of the art equipment and flying across the world to shoot content, and media companies or companies think they can just come in and take our content, use it for their own programming and monetization, and cut me out of the fold, I do not think it's right. Neither does the law. And today I'd like to kind of go over different ways to protect your content and to be aware of all the different ways both copyright and now AI are being used to exploit your content.
That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. I've practiced it all never. So from here, do you want me to go ahead and just jump right in?
Sure. Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
So my journey really started back in about 12, 13 years ago now. Uh, I started chasing, my first hurricane was in 1995. I've been doing this a long, long time. At first, it was just me fascinated with weather, wanting to run out and be in it. And over time, that extended from hurricanes, transitioned to tornadoes, flooding, blizzards, giant waves, you name it, volcanoes, whatever is extreme and just makes my jaw hit the floor. I want to be there. Uh, it got expensive really fast, and there became a time where I had to choose, okay, do I want to continue this hobby at the pace I'm doing it, or do I want to make a living? And those are never a good crossroad to be at. So it's either or. The other option was to find a way to make a living while storm chasing. And I was working full time, working 60, 70 hours a week, and storm chasing on the side, taking money I was making from the actual job, putting it into the hobby, and figured out that, hey, look, I think I can make a living doing this. But if I'm going to do it, I need to set some goals. I need to set goals and choose where I can do this, how I can do this. And over time, I kept hitting my annual goals in March and April, and I was like, you know what? There's a revenue stream here. There's a business here. So after about 3 years of doing both together, I took the giant leap off. One was a very secure, lifelong living, and the other was the great unknown. And everybody thought I was nuts by quitting my job and going full time storm chasing. The one thing that kept hitting my head was, if I don't do this the rest of my life, I'll look back and have regret, and I don't want to have regrets. I did it. I was able to have some early success and kind of just drove my own little niche business. Well, as that business started to expand and as I started to make enough income to buy new equipment, upgrade chase vehicle, begin chasing more storms, begin jumping off on bigger adventures, international stuff where you have to spend a lot of money to do it. I was able to recoup that revenue. But as I got bigger, the media companies globally and businesses globally started recognizing, hey, this content gets a lot of views. And views is currency. When you have views and you have eyeballs, that means you can attach products and sales and advertisement to it. And for media companies, you can drive earning or ratings. Well, in 2018, the Kilauea volcano, I shot a video of lava coming across the road and eating a Mustang. Um, Lava, actually, that thick lava pushing a gate open, and it went absolutely viral on social media. The problem I had after that was I had about 10 or 12 licenses I sold from that content, but about 3 to 4 thousand media organizations use the content. So it's in excess of 99% of media companies were stealing the content. Less than 1% were licensing it. And if you apply that to any other business, that business does not exist. If there's a gas station and 99% of the customers that walk through that door come in and steal everything, hardware store, Home Depot, Walmart, anything. If Walmart shrink their lossage from theft gets over 2 or 3%, they consider closing that store. So you're talking 99% for our industry. And when monetization became a thing on social media, it number exploded even more, and it went far beyond just media companies and businesses to foreign and national, but mostly foreign people that live in countries that do not have a sustainable lifestyle of work. They do not have income, where they have realized that they can fake being in the United States, steal our content, create thousands of YouTube channels, use the same videos over and over again. And as long as they're making YouTube money, YouTube will help defend them. So, and it's not just YouTube, it's Meta, it's all of them. So the copyright journey became, I'm out here working to make thousands of other people money for no benefit to myself. And when I do that, it limits my ability to expand, limits my ability to chase, limits my ability to support my family. It limits my ability to do everything I want to do. And you have to look at it as a business side. So it became a long journey at this point to figure out how to make it stop. And what I learned along the way is what I hope I can teach other people. Stuff that took me years to learn, years of a lot of crap that you don't need to know, and a lot of very important things that you do, and understanding the difference in those things and how to protect your content. So, number one, the most important thing I learned was registering your content. When you register your content, you can go to the Library of Congress and apply to have your content registered. This is the first publication. So if you take a 10-second video and post it on Twitter, that's a publication. You're publishing your video, photo, video, whatever. So when you do that first publication, you need to register it. If anybody steals it, then you have rights. If somebody steals it and you don't have it registered, you can't take them to court. You can't even file a lawsuit. There's nothing you can do. And when you're talking about, when you're first getting going, you may see your picture here or there, and it's like, whatever. But once you kind of grow and become established, you're going to find out that the leeches come out of the water and they will find you. And you start seeing, I don't know, Jonathan Petramala and myself, every time we hit the post button, uh, it's probably somewhere in the order of, on average, 500 to 10,000 thefts within the first 24 hours. For the really viral content, it's hundreds of thousands of times our content gets stolen and reused. It got so bad that my platforms got demonetized. They were saying that I was using content that didn't belong to me because so many other people were using it, even though it was my content with my registration. And of course, you can't get in touch with anybody at the platforms to do anything about it. Uh, it was costing me on my social media side. It was costing me on my licensing side. It was costing me on the stock side. It was costing me everywhere. Then the amount of time and money I had to put into police, and it became so overwhelming that to this day, for the last 4 or 5 years, I spend more time on copyright than I do on storms. And as a kid, I never sat outside the window looking up at the clouds saying, you know what, I want to be IP lawyer. I want to do IP work. I want to do copyright. That's not what I did. That's not my dream, but it's a necessity now. A lot of things are working against us with copyright, particularly the social media platforms. Because every time somebody steals your content and uploads it to a social media platform, that social media platform is making money off of it. Even when you do the takedown and make them remove that content, they still keep that money. So it's a lot of incentive for them to have copyright material. Well, with AI, this is now expanding. So if you take a picture and upload it to Facebook or Twitter, you are giving Facebook and Twitter the right to train their AI programs with that material. Then you're giving them the right to turn around and sell that material. So even if you don't use the platform and somebody else takes your content and posts it to that platform, they are giving Twitter that right. They are giving Meta that right to train their own AI programs and sell that data to other companies training AI. So anytime somebody steals your content, they're exploiting your rights. And this is a gray area that's just really becoming a big thing in copyright. It probably won't see results for this for 2 or 3 years. But let's say Meta does, they know 10 million pieces of content a day are being requested takedown from their site. Despite knowing that, they still are taking all of their content and training it without the rights to it, and then selling that data to other companies wanting to train AI models. So we are just the pawns that are making, I think Meta's fourth quarter earnings were $86 billion. So they're making that money by taking it from everybody else illegally, or at least a large portion of it. And we're the victims on that. Well, with AI, that same AI data that they stole from you and then sold to other AI companies are now creating weather videos and weather pictures that people are using to compete against us. And Hurricane Melissa, we saw what Jonathan called the first AI hurricane. The imagery from Hurricane Melissa, from the storm and the aftermath and the reports that got views were exponentially greater from AI than from the real thing. It was so bad that we had disaster organizations on the ground flying C-130s full of equipment to places that didn't get hit while pulling stuff that was supposed to go to places that did get hit because of AI videos. It got to the point where we had one disaster response agency pull all aid because they could not get reliable information. They couldn't tell what was what. You had Jim Cantori sharing video of Black River, Jamaica hit by a Category 5 hurricane that was all AI generated. So you're talking about longtime professionals in the weather world and video that could not tell the difference. And this is going to become standard across every disaster we face. And all of that content was used from your hard work. So they're taking our content, exploiting it, and using it to have the opposite effect of all of our goals as storm chasers. We want to be out there. We want to be able to help communities. We want to be able to give people the news and let them understand what's going on and report things on the ground and showcase what these storms are doing. And everything that we're doing is being used and exploited by some of the biggest companies on the planet for profit to do just the opposite, to completely separate or blend truth and just garbage. And Melissa is a perfect example because it was the first, but we're already seeing it now across even the blizzard in Northeast last week. They're seeing it. We're seeing people take our old videos, use it as new. We're seeing people take storm chasers, put it into AI, completely remix their whole entire video with their faces and voices and everything else. About 2 years ago, we started seeing channels that were using Pecos Hank voice to do voiceovers. It was AI generated for videos that were all stolen and mashed up. Now we're seeing the faces and everything else to go with it. You can go online right now in a US based company. You can pay them to set up an account and have Reed Timmer send you daily voice and video messages and emails. But it's not Reed. Reed has no idea this is happening. It's just, hey, we're going to exploit his likeness and image and everything else and make money off it. So it's we're just hitting the tip of this iceberg, and I think in 2 years it drowns us out completely. But I also think there's good news. I remember when Photoshop first became a thing, and it was all the rage, right? Everybody loved Photoshop pictures. Then after about 3 or 4 years, it became a bad word, and people just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. It's like, all right, enough fake. We've seen it all. And I have a feeling video will be the same thing. And AI video is going to get rejected because people want reality of the situation after they've been fooled so many times. And they're tired of asking, is this real? And I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. But the next few years is going to be really, really tough. You have on YouTube Ryan Hall, his image and voice is now being used to do live broadcasts, stealing the same streams. They're taking Ryan Hall's entire broadcast, putting over a fake AI image of him with voice, and doing 8-10 hour lives. Most of these people doing this are located out of Vietnam. We've identified giant schools in Vietnam that bring in people, have 80 to 100 editing bays, and run thousands of YouTube and Meta channels and do nothing but take content and reuse it over and over again across the thousands of channels all day, every day, generating tens of millions of dollars of income, acting like US companies. So this is the type of thing we're dealing with. The social media companies are protecting it right now because they're making a ton of money off of it. And until we're making more money for those social media companies than the copyright thieves are, we're going to be fighting this losing battle. And I don't see how we can ever make more money than the copyright when the thieves, because they can just steal everything and anything all day long, make up news stories that don't breaking news because they're making crap up, just completely making stuff up. They have no moral ground for accuracy. So to protect your stuff, register your work. You have 90 days to register your content from the day you first publish it to get all the benefits of registration, which includes statutory damages where you're not having to prove actual damages or hire experts in courts. You can bring lawsuits. It gives you a ton of protection. The course of filing a lawsuit is not pleasant. It's not fun. It takes a long time, but it is a way to recoup some of the losses that you may experience. Your video is worth a lot of money. Your pictures are worth a lot of money. If they weren't, people wouldn't be stealing. When you shoot viral content, and that's one of our goals has been the last 10 years, is to figure out how much a piece of content is worth. And we're finding out it's worth a lot. It's worth a lot from the aspect of licensing. It's worth a lot on the stock side. It's worth a lot for your own social media platforms. That viral content helps your social media platforms grow, which makes each piece of content you post from there on out more profitable. And over time, we're finding some of this content can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. So now, I'm not saying everything. You go shoot a picture of, a lightning way off in the distance, nobody's going to care. But if you go shoot some viral content, it's worth money. It's worth a lot of money. If it's not protected, then you're not going to see any of it. Everybody else is going to make that money. If you don't know how to, the next most important thing I can tell you is when people ask you for something. If somebody shows up at your door, knocks on your door, and says, "Hey, can I have something that's sitting in your garage?" You're going to say, "This is weird," and no. But when a media company does it and says, "Hey, we'll put your name on TV, we want your content," then all of a sudden, for some reason, us photographers and storm chasers like to say yes. When you do that, you're also usually agreeing to some terms that are should be illegal for them to even ask because it's so industry specific. But they'll do it to disaster victims, so don't think they won't do it to you. But they'll come in and ask to have perpetual, which means forever, worldwide, all media, known or unknown. So it doesn't matter if it's selling NFTs with your content. We don't know what's coming around the corner, but they're getting the rights to all this worldwide to distribute, to sell. So when you say, yeah, oh yeah, sure, you can put it up there. Well, they're not just using it for that post on Facebook. They're putting in their engines and turning around selling it to all the other media organizations. And you're losing your right to defend your work at that point. So you say yes to one person, and all of a sudden that comes back to bite you when everybody else takes your content. So don't sign a contract unless you read it, and don't sign anything that you don't understand the language in. That's got to be like one of the most important things I can drive home, not just for copyright, but for anything, because we're seeing some very shady contracts these days. Um,
And I just want to interject here and say that we actually have a buddy who specializes in these types of contracts, and we're actually going to do a live with her on best practices for reading legal contracts. So you're not signing your life away. So I think, the great thing, Brandon, is that inside the storm chasing community, we actually do have all the resources in some ways. I think we just have to figure out how to piece them all together. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
yeah, no, I appreciate that because, excuse me, no, I appreciate that because I see it. I see it with seasoned chasers. I see it with all kinds of people that, hey man, they're doing this to me. What can I do? Oh, did you sign anything? Well, yeah. I said, let me see it. I'm like, well, I'm like, right there on the agreement, you gave them permission to do all this. There's nothing you can do about it. I was like, in fact, you gave them permission to have copyright as a work for hire. So they own the content. You don't even own it. You can't even post it on your social media page. And like, what? Oh yeah, you got to read it. You've got to read it. So we're seeing it all the time. I think our core group that we've been protecting content for finally starting to understand it now, especially with some of the Storyful contracts that came out there. We had Storyful reaching out to people. They agreed to license a piece of content. They were discussing one piece of content, and then something they posted to Twitter. And then the contract comes through, and it's got a link to Twitter, and then everybody just assumes it's a piece of content they were talking about. It's your entire Twitter profile. So they gave up rights to their entire Twitter profile, anything they ever posted to Twitter or YouTube or whatever they were reaching out about. And it's really it's really not legal what they were doing there, but then you got to fight that out in court, attorneys and all the good stuff. So just know what you're signing. If somebody's asking something for free, look at it like anything else. Imagine somebody knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, can I have your TV? I mean, can I have your laptop?" Except in this case, your video and photos probably worth more than the laptop.
That's interesting because some laptops are really expensive, actually. But also, it's also helpful to know that yes, you should read everything, but also everything is negotiable as well.
Yes.
So you aren't like, it's not black or white, right? It's not yes or no. It's yes and if when there's an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. When a production company sends you a contract, they're sending you a contract that's got every possible line in their favor. The producer that's sending it to you, doesn't even have the authority to change a period to a comma. Their legal team has to do it. So when they're sending that to you, keep that in mind that they have not a attorney, a legal team that goes over each one of these contracts. So it's everything's in their best interest. They are fully expecting, they're hoping that you just sign it, but they're fully expecting you to come back and say, "Hey, this isn't going to work. We've got a red line." So that's when you download it into a Word format and then go through and redline all the language and then add your own language and go back and forth. When I get a contract from a production company doing a series on severe weather, usually from the time I get that contract to the time that contract is finalized, it's 4 to 5 months. And it goes to attorneys 6 times on each side. It's usually 4 to 5 months. And if you're rushing something out, you're losing. They're not rushing out. I can promise you. Everything goes, okay, we're going to send it to our legal team. It's going to take time. Give us a couple weeks. So in that couple weeks, excuse me, yeah. In that couple weeks, they're hoping you get a patient sign it because you've given them way more rights, and you never know where they might use those rights. We had one production company send over a contract the other day that was asking for not only to use our content, to be able to use it in any other format worldwide for all affiliates and partners. This was a production company that goes up to, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but one of the largest media companies in the world. And also use your voice and likeness, not just for that show, but any other show they decide to create in the future. And they were asking for photos and pictures and any media ever created to support our interview. In the language, it says we have to turn it over to them or we could be considered breach of contract. Then they can use that content free of charge however they want. So basically, anything you've ever created, they have access to, can use it however they want, can sell it, whatever. And this is a major production company. But, you know, I can't blame them for trying. They're just seeing what they can get away with. And if you're dumb enough to sign it, they win. It's really that simple. So when you get all excited and you think, hey, if I don't sign this contract, they're not going to work with me. No, they're still going to work with you. If they reached out to you, then they've already got a story they're going to tell. They've already got a need for your work. They want you as a customer. But it doesn't mean they won't try and screw you in the process. So you better know what you're signing and you better understand how to redline. And if you don't, I know attorneys aren't cheap, but get one. If you can't afford one, ask for help. Somebody may be able to help you. Ask around. If that doesn't work, AI is not terrible at helping draft legal. You know, it can probably
Oh, the
get you pretty
irony.
close. Yeah, probably get you pretty close. But um, But if you trust AI 100%, you might as well be trusting the production company too.
I think
But
one
at
of
least they give you some drafts.
the key messages here, and man, we've been talking about this now like for years actually, is that chaser work has value, like a lot of value in some cases, and it is worth negotiating. But you have to go into it recognizing that, like you said, Brandon, if they reached out, they want what you have, or they want you on the show, or and they absolutely will offer the bare minimum. And that also is the case, I think, in those situations where you're being offered exposure dollars, which I'm sure we can talk about a little bit. But I think this is an important reminder, and maybe we need to do this like annually or biannually before chase season starts, or before or after a major event. Just remember, this content does have value, and there's a reason people are faking it or using AI, or, I mean, this is a huge market, I think, in some cases. So,
I think it's a
again,
billion-dollar industry. I think storm chasing is a billion-dollar industry, and if
wow.
we ever quit self-sabotaging and cannibalizing ourselves, that there is there's a world where we could have hundreds or maybe thousands of storm chasers making a full-time living doing this in a many
Hmm.
different ways, many different ways.
Hmm.
It's a big industry. News is a big industry. It's huge. It's a lot of money generated around weather, and like you said, uh, if we truly understand all the impacts and the ways that our content's being used, you start understanding all the ways the money is being generated. That money is being generated right now. The only difference is
Mm-hmm.
it's not going in our pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And I the other thing I have is the storm chasers say, can't believe you're making money off of natural disasters. I'm like, you don't say that to police officers or firefighters or first responders or Home Depot or insurance companies or the line workers coming out or the airlines that are selling the tickets or the gas station selling the gas or the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store selling the food. So why are we this like special group? Like that shouldn't be, and the impact that we have, I can promise. I you know I can't group all storm chasers together. There's some bad apples, there's some good apples, but as a whole, the impact we have to communities is very bright. Like people don't see it because they're not on the ground after the disasters. But I sit here and talk to people every disaster after, and they're like, we found out the warning. We were watching a live stream from this chaser.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching Ryan Hall, and he was showing the tornado from Brad Arnold's stream. He was.
Mm-hmm.
We have an impact. We have a big impact. Uh, you know, I couldn't find my dog, and some storm chaser stopped and helped me after a tornado hit our house. You see people pulling people, storm chasers pulling people out, driving them to hospitals. We have impacts. We have impacts. Not always all positive, but it's more positive than negative. So the idea that we're making a living doing this or can't do that is so absurd. I just want to reach through computer screens and start slapping people when they start saying that. It's like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
why you single us out? It's the same reason we get singled out for exposure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It
nobody
is
goes to gas
truly,
station and says, "Hey, we fill up a gas and we'll give you exposure." It
yeah.
doesn't happen.
It is, it never ceases to blow my mind. It seems like I don't, and maybe it's just because I don't get out enough or something, but I don't feel like I've ever seen this in other spaces, other content spaces, this expectation of your only reward needs to be we give you exposure, really without any knowledge of what your prior exposure was and why you're doing what you're doing. There's this just automatic, I don't need to pay you for this. And it seems to really be specific to this area of content creation, and the messages don't change. Their negotiations don't change. They assume we'll come around even if we say no the first time. It it just the characters change over time. It's kind of fascinating to me.
It's pretty wild. And anybody listening to this is welcome to use it. But my favorite line to anybody asking me for exposure is I respond, just for clarity, are you getting paid to ask me to work for free? And 100% of the time,
I'm
it
using
ends the
that.
conversation. 100% of the time.
Totally gonna use
Like,
that.
if you're gonna do that to me, I'm gonna make you feel like the jerk you are for asking. Like that is so rude. You wouldn't walk
Amen.
into any other business and do that. You would get laughed out the place. So you know what? If you're gonna do that to me, I'm gonna make you feel exactly the way I feel when you ask me that. But
I love it.
and there's some chasers out there. It's like, I don't mind. I'm just doing this as a hobby. But those chasers should also keep in mind that I was doing it as a hobby at one point. You may not always. And once you set that expectation of free, it's
Hmm.
really hard to get out. And that exposure is not getting you anything.
Yeah.
So later on in life, you may really, really regret that. And we're seeing that with quite a few people now and trying to change that idea and that expectation. And once you do give in, they never take you seriously.
Hmm.
They never look at you as a business. They look at you as a source,
Hmm.
and not a source to buy, a source to just get. So that's one of the things that I really want to tell people who are looking at a hobby. It may not always be a hobby, or if you're just opposed to having money, you know, uh, keep in mind that you're probably undercutting people that are doing this for a living. Or if you don't want that money, the company that's going to take it from you, that media organization, almost never gives back to disaster victims. Almost never. And never specific disasters. So why don't you take that money and donate it? Because you can do some good from it. So there's always a
Hmm.
different way to look at it. But the whole idea that we have this insane obligation to commit our own funds, work for free, and not
Hmm.
get paid is
Hmm.
one of the more absurd ones. The second one is the
Hmm.
whole idea of working for exposure. So
Yes, I'm totally using that. Um, I'm watching the chat and everyone's like, "Oh yes, nailed it." Are you getting
right.
paid right now to ask me to give you something for free that I worked very hard for? Um, yes. Is it easier? Have you found, I mean, I assume you deal mostly in video. Some of the issues that have cropped up, I think, for folks are people who have still photos where publications have reached out, or publishing companies, which has been kind of my new favorite thing to encounter. I've really upset some editors recently who just insisted everything should be free. Um, do you find the negotiating easier with video? Does it matter? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I find video easier because video is so high quality now, and for what these publications are normally using it for, with the exception of really high end print, a screen grab, a 4K screen grab can do the job just as effectively as a photo.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're selling that video, you're usually also given the rights to use for screen grab for a photo for a thumbnail. So that's it's usually easier just because you can take that video, use it so many different ways, and have photos out of it, and not just one photo, a bunch. So that's definitely easier for me. Photos, I typically don't even think about when I'm shooting because I know I can take a screen grab. So the camera technology today, I can take a screen grab and up to, I mean, what, 32-inch TV, I could probably match a really really high quality camera from 10 years ago. So it's really obviously now if you're talking about a single snap photo to do a big wall picture, big billboard, something like that. There's photos are irreplaceable for that. But typically for most uses now, a screen grab will do it.
Got it. And it turns out our friend who is going to at some point talk to us about licensing agreements and how to read them is with us and just dropped a comment that said, also remember, no is an okay answer to a bad licensing agreement. If they want your content, others likely do too, and for better terms. Totally agree. Negotiating is the way to go. I've also played someone's bluff several times where it was like, we just don't have a budget for this. And I was like, great, I guess you don't need our content.
Hey,
And
look, I
suddenly,
I tell
magically,
everybody, yeah, yeah, they'll come up with it suddenly. No, I tell everybody the word no has made me way more money than the word yes. Like it is definitely the biggest money making word I have in my vocabulary is no. Um, I look at my business just like a storefront. When somebody walks in Apple store, some of them are going to buy, some of them are not. It's okay if they don't. Same thing with me. It's like,
Mhm.
there's my price. No, my price is my price. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. I'm
Yep.
not going to be mad at you. I'll still be here in the future if you change your mind. It's okay. It's just a store, you know? But if you're selling to 100% of customers, then you're probably selling way too cheap. I'd even argue if you're selling to 50% of customers, you're probably selling way too cheap. And I've said it before, I think on the Twitter spaces with you guys, that if you say yes to 200 every time, you'll never get 2,000. Like it just won't happen.
Mhm.
So those people aren't going to come out and offer you more than what you're asking. And until you realize the value of your content and price it appropriately, you're not going to be able to make the amount of money that your content is worth. So, and it's not easy. And I'm not like throwing blame or shade here. It's just it's not easy to do. It's not easy to know what your content's worth. Even when I shoot videos today, I've been doing this a long time. I've got thousands of copyright certificates. I've had thousands of licenses. Even today, sometimes I'll shoot a piece of video, think it's better than what it is. You know, sometimes we think our own work's better than what it is, and that happens to me occasionally. And I'll price it too high. Sometimes I come in and I underestimate the market and I price it too low, and all of a sudden every single person buys it. I'm like, price it too low. It's just something a learning process, but there are people out there willing to help you. When I was really coming up on this, it was all a top secret game, and I think that's a terrible way to look at this. Um, I think if we all build a floor and bring that floor up together, that it's better for us as a whole. And I'm an open book, so if anybody ever has questions, I am busy, so I may not respond immediately, but I will try to help. I will do my best, and if not, I can probably point you in the right direction.
I think we have a really great, I mean, like you said, the Chase community is kind of a mix of people, but one thing I know that I've seen consistently out of this community over the years is that we really do look out for each other in terms of if somebody's content has been stolen, like we know whose is what essentially, and we recognize familiar photos that are showing up somewhere that seem suspicious and alerting each other. And so I think, you know, I'm going to ask you a question that you've partially answered, which is what is our recourse? So if let's say we haven't registered our content, right? Because I'm probably one of the many folks who didn't know that was a thing, and have certainly missed my 90-day window. What is our recourse if we do catch someone stealing our content, or are alerted that somebody is using stolen content?
Best thing you can probably do is a DMCA takedown. It's not gonna, if they decide to counter notify and your content's not registered, you have to file a lawsuit to their counter notification. And if your content's not registered, you can't. You can still register your content after 90 days. You just lose the statutory damages. You are only eligible for actual damages. So usually your actual damages, the only thing you can prove is the licensing value of that content. So let's say you shoot a photograph and you've sold it, you've licensed it twice for $1,000. 6 months later, you find out somebody's stealing it, and look, there's photos all over Shutterstock that are being sold that have no ownership from Shutterstock. Like mini
Right.
chaser photos are all over, and they're generating lots of money. Just not going to the chaser. It's usually going to some guy in Pakistan.
Right.
So what you can do there is you can register the content, file a lawsuit for actual damages. If you sold that photo twice for $1,000 probably the most you're gonna get for it. The filing of that lawsuit is going to cost you about $500. The attorney is not going to take it on a contingency. You're going to have to pay the attorney outright. So it's going to cost you about $5,000 to recover that $1,000. If you don't register your work, it's almost pointless to try and defend your copyright. You're saying if you don't register that work, you're putting it out to the world and saying, here you go, guys, do what you want with it. It's that important. If you do register that work within the first 90 days, the statute on it is if it's unintentional copyright infringement, it's $750 to $30,000. Usually they're going to look at your licensing value and go 3 to 5 times. If you've got a low licensing value, again, you're going to be back in the situation where it's going to be hard to protect your work. If you're doing really good high quality stuff and have good licensing value, then that 3 to 5 multiplier can add up to some pretty big numbers. Um, if it's willful infringement, meaning they're cutting out a watermark, or you can prove that they know what they're doing and they're taking that content anyway, then it goes from 30,000 to 150,000 in that range. And of course, a jury decides that. So it's a significant penalty. It's not nearly as significant as it used to be because that law is now 30 years old. So the inflation rate is half that penalty. But it's still a pretty significant penalty and deterrent if you get on that higher side. We're finding that some uh, many media companies have decided we're I'm in a legal battle with one media company, large media company now. They have subscriptions with Reuters, AP, CNN News Source, or CBS News Path, um, Getty, and they're paying 30, 50, $60,000 a month each for these subscriptions. Well, we found out that they've never licensed a single piece of content outside of that framework, but use it all the time. So when it comes to the small creators, they found it's best we just take their content. We just steal it. They don't care. They know they're going to get caught. They know it's going to cost them a lot more, but they know that only 1% of the people that are out there policing their work are going to catch them. So if they're paying 10 times more, 1% of the time, they're saving 90%. It's costing them less to steal it than to license it, even when they get caught, because so few people know how to actually police their work. And this isn't just one media company; it's a bunch of them doing it. But this one was really, really bad about it. And it is my goal in life to make these people pay dearly because it's just so dirty. It's so dirty. It's taken advantage of every single thing that we do, every aspect of our work. That, like I said, that $1 billion industry that's there, it's generating that money now. It's just going to companies like that. And that's what I don't want to see. I want storm chasers to have financial freedom. I want them to be able to have a living. I want them to have a job where they can do their work. They can do it how they want to do it. And there's a million different ways they can do it. They can work with social media. They can work with media companies. They can work with uh, social media companies, like Ryan Hall, or
Mm-hmm.
some of the radar app companies that are getting all
Mm-hmm.
this private investment coming into them. There's money. There's huge amounts of money there,
Mm-hmm.
and the chasers are the ones that are providing the ground truth, the video, the views, the
Mm-hmm.
exposure to those apps, the downloads, right? The advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be getting big chunk of that pie. And that money's there. So it's just like, hey, if you want to make a living storm chasing, you can. But there's some things you have to do and things we have to do as a community to make it easier on each other.
I mean, it's like we've said 5 different times, 5 different ways already. Your content is worth a lot. You just have to be smart and willing to walk away. Kind of with anything, really. Like you said, it's like shopping at a store. Not everyone is going to buy what you have to offer, and you have to be real clear on what the value is. And getting a second opinion is also helpful, I think, especially for those of us who are new to video or coming up in the video space. We've done a lot of stuff like this, whether it's lives or in some of our trainings, we've covered what it means to produce content and get paid for it and what it's worth. And I have found wonderful resources in the storm chasing community who are willing to give feedback on what something is worth, or who have provided instruction on what even is worth money versus not. And we can certainly do another live on that, especially because it seems like, the media world is also moving at a million miles an hour, trying to keep up with the advent of social media and now AI and everything else we're kind of dealing with as well. So um, I think that's a big piece of it is, the other time probably not to be making this decision is right after you captured the content, but rather having a plan So let's say you're planning on, going to a big event or chasing a hurricane, or, for those of us, for example, who find ourselves working internationally, already having that plan in place and knowing exactly how you plan to sell and protect that content seems like a good choice.
It is a very good choice. It's one viral piece of content can change your life. Um, and if you're not prepared for it, it's going to change somebody else's. It's that simple. Uh, I, I I've shot I've shot content. I've shot content where I couldn't. I had notifications turned on my phone, and between my email and social media accounts, and not every notification, just like key notifications, to the point I couldn't use my phone. I was having to use the Bluetooth on my radio on my car to dial and answer calls because I couldn't get anything going because of the notifications were overriding anything I was doing. And it was like that for 3 straight days. And I had a broker doing it too. He was on the other side. 3 days, just fast as you can go. Emails, and you can't possibly answer them all. So yeah, it can get really, really crazy on a big event that happens if you capture the right piece of content. Um, it's just mind blowing. And I've got a form system set up for my website. I direct all people to my website for sales so they can fill out the form. And it's got a section where I'd like to license the content, or it says I would like to use the content free of charge. And that one automatically goes into my trash. So I don't get notified. It goes automatically into my trash. It just gets rid of them. So every single local station from Sinclair
Nice.
and Tegna, and there's like 400 of them, have people working the desk that are getting paid to ask you to work for free. That's their entire job, is to sit there and ask for free
Absolutely.
content. So every time I shoot a viral piece of content, I get 500 to 600 messages, and they don't stop. They'll go to my email, they'll go to your social media accounts, they'll call you. It doesn't matter what time, they don't
Mhm.
care. Their job is to get that content for free, no matter how much harm it causes you. But yeah, being prepared for it up front can change your life. And I'm telling you now, if you're not ready for it on the back, and most of this stuff has a very short window
Yes.
to really take advantage of. When I say really short, 12 to 36 hours is typically your window. If it's breaking news type stuff, 1 to 6 hours. Like, it's short. So you better have a plan, and you better be ready to execute it. And look, I'm willing to help people, but if you shoot a viral piece of content and you're needing my help after you shoot it, we've already lost. That battle's already over. It's too much to get done. Um, I don't mind helping people. I'll tell people my prices and pricing structure and what I think stuff is worth. I have no problem doing that. Um, you know, there are brokers out there that can help you with this too. I tell people all the time, you can sell your own stuff and you're better off for it 9 out of 10 times. But when you shoot that one piece of viral content, you're going to cost yourself more money than you're going to be paying your broker for years. Uh, and it's true every single time.
Yep.
And the first time you sign a contract that you don't know what you're signing, you're going to cost yourself more money than you'll ever pay a broker for the life of your life and theirs. So there's significant money to be made, but you have to do things the right way. And if you don't treat this like a business, then don't expect to be treated like a business.
Another a brilliant piece of advice. 100%. Yes, it is. And I think that's possibly part of the conflict here with the folks who say, sure, you can have it. This is a hobby, or who don't realize that their content is worth money. I mean, I feel like all I ever see is chasers tracking down people like that online and saying, hey, man, put a watermark at least, or, like, stop giving that away. You have no idea how much that's worth. And there's a much bigger issue at hand in the face of that. So, in terms of that plan, then, and treating everything like a business, what are your sort of key recommendations? Like, what's the go bag, as it were, right? If you do plan on capturing video, or even if you're someone like me, for example, where I'm not typically much of a video person, but I'll know when I've got content that's saleable, right? What do you recommend we do in advance and then have ready to kind of go bag, as it were, when that video happens, or if we know we've captured something that's worth money?
First thing, set a minimum price. I won't sell any piece of content for less than $750. I don't care if it's I can take a selfie right now. I won't sell it for less than $750 because when I sell something, I also put a full license with it, which means a legal contract. So I have to build that legal contract. Then I have to produce the content. I have to negotiate the terms. Then I have to send them an invoice. I have to make sure the invoice gets paid.
Yep.
That's a lot of work. It's a
Yep.
lot of work, and it costs me. And I also have a minimum. So 750 is I won't sell anything less than 750. Now I have for stock footage, I have a $1,500 minimum for 1 second. If you want to buy 1 second, it's 1,500. Now it's 10 seconds, it's 1,500. Then $100 a second after, because that first second creates a license, and that license takes a lot of money. And you have to hire an attorney to crank out a contract. Or if you're now basically your own attorney because you've done this so long, that you should be getting paid like an attorney. Any other business is doing the same thing. I've created documentaries. I've licensed content from news agencies. I licensed stuff from the Mayfield stuff, and they were charging me $5,500 a minute. No, 1 minute minimum, 5,500. Doesn't matter if you want 1 second. Then when we go pull their file, it's a 360p file. So like, yeah, so it's like, that's the expectation. That's normal pricing. So Storm Chasers, for some reason, and they've conditioned media to think, hey, Storm Chasers is different. We can lowball them. We can offer them $50. We can send them a contract that exploits them forever. Because we say yes. So it's our own fault for saying yes. But it's predatory. It's wrong. They shouldn't be doing it. But it doesn't mean they won't, because they absolutely will. So just learn. But yeah, that's the number one thing: is have a minimum, have a pricing structure set out, um, have terms. That's more important than price, is terms.
Okay.
If you're selling a piece of content to CBS News, CBS calls you up and says, hey, we really want to license your content. If you don't specify, that means CBS is going to take that, and they're going to say for all affiliates and partners. And I'm not calling out CBS; it's every network's like this, but they have their news path. So news path is like Reuters or AP, where other companies subscribe to it, and if they buy it, they put it on the news path, and they turn around and sell it. And they may sell it to 1,000 news organizations, and you sat here and made a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden your content's all over the world. It's just like, okay, well, what happened? You signed the contract. You have to understand the terms.
That is
If you
that
don't know
fine
this stuff,
print, man, that'll get you every time.
it will. I mean, hey, look, when you sign up to an app and you're agreeing to those terms and services, you're agreeing, hey, Elon, yes, you, the richest man on earth, can have my content to train your AI system to compete with me, and then take that content and sell it to every other AI platform in the world to compete with me. You're saying that. That's what you're agreeing to. And I tell people all the time with like Instagram and Twitter that don't monetize, if or monetize to the amount of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If Coca-Cola called you up and said, hey man, can we take all your content and post it on our website and use it for publicity and advertise revenue? What are you going to charge? Well, nothing. It's free. We're going to give you free. Would you do it? No. Everyone was like, no, that'd be insane. Well, why are you doing it for Twitter and Instagram? It's the same thing. You're doing it for blue thumbs. So it's just like, it drives
So
me
what
crazy.
do you, for those of us, because I can already hear the responses about Twitter and Instagram, and I shared them initially, which is to even be recognized as a producer of content worth buying, you have to build some profile in a place where people can find you, right? And I think Twitter, the old Twitter, accomplished that for the storm chasing community and certainly for me. And so, what is the balance there? And then, if you have made that mistake, how do you rectify it partway through, right?
So when Twitter changed their terms, I pretty much quit posting to it. Every now and then for big breaking news stories, I will still use it, but I don't use it the way I did. I no longer post a high quality content. I dumb it down so much. I shoot shoot a picture of the video of my phone on my
Mm-hmm.
computer screen or something, right? I
Yeah.
don't want them having access. It'll still go viral. They'll still make money off of it, but they're not getting the full trainability to AI. They're not it's playing their game, right? Um, there's other platforms that do monetize, and they're all evil. I
Yeah.
mean, quite frankly,
They
they're all
are.
evil. Um, having a broker too that makes sure that that video gets in the inbox of everybody is a big deal. That helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And what we as storm chasers think is worth money typically isn't, and what we don't think is worth money typically is. We're looking for news related events, and if you don't understand supply and demand, you're never going to understand video sales and pricing. It's supply and demand that drives pricing across
Mm-hmm.
every sector and product in the world, and video and pictures are no different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're shooting the same thing everybody else is shooting, then good luck. If you're shooting the same way everybody else is shooting, then good luck. It's not a way to make money. Now you can make money and drive revenue on social media, but if you're shooting, if you're one of 1,000 people with the same content, it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The best thing I ever heard was an economics teacher in high school said, "How many of you want a money tree?" And everybody raised their hand, and he goes, "How much would that money be worth?" And nobody just kind of sat there dumb. And he finally said, the answer is the same amount as leaves. So
Yep.
it's supply and demand. And video is the same thing. So if you're shooting the same thing and everybody else has the same thing, it's not worth much. It's
Right.
worth sentimental value and social media value, but as far as
Right.
licensing, it's just not worth
So somebody mentioned, I just do this as a hobby and I don't have the editing skills to even add a watermark. So let's talk about watermarks for just a second, because those can also be ripped off a video. We have learned as well the hard way. But I do want to just point out that that should be part of your process. So there are plenty of apps out there for free that you can add a watermark to video and easily edit video. If you have an iPhone, iMovie is one of them. It comes with your iPhone. And put them in the most inconvenient location possible. I've gotten very good at hiding watermarks in what I consider to be high value photography, and even got chastised at one point over a volcano photo on Twitter because somebody got super annoyed by my watermark, which they only would have noticed if they had stolen the photo and blown it up and tried to crop it and reshare it. So figure it out, basically, is my advice on watermarks. I see Brandon's got a comment, but find yourself some software and definitely start to use it if you think it matters.
Yeah, no, watermark's very important. I always include one bottom right. I don't make it obtrusive anymore. I register my work. If you want to steal my content and crop my watermark out, then hey,
Yep.
you're gonna have to deal with me,
Yeah.
and I will find you. It's just that easy. I quit trying to play that game because no matter where I put it, people still steal it.
Yeah.
I put giant. We've got so I've got Jonathan Petramala doing a stand up with his face with the scene in the background with my watermark going across the top of it, and it got ripped everywhere. They don't care. They don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
but but if you crop a watermark out and you're taking content with a watermark, that
mm-hmm.
is a pretty big admission of guilt. So remember when we said that registered content for statutory damages is 750 to 30,000, but when it's willful, willful is when you take a piece of content, you're cropping that watermark out. You know what you're doing. So now it's 30,000 to 150,000 penalty. So it's a much steeper penalty, and that is a great way for people to admit they're guilty. Is
Hmm.
to take stuff and crop a watermark out, or using it with a watermark that says not for broadcast or for licensing only. They can't say, "Oh, I did not have a license." It literally has it on the watermark from the video itself.
Mm.
So it's a good tool that way. It's not going to stop the theft. It may slow it down at times, but it does show when people are acting maliciously and guilty. So
And I do want to make a plug too. We mentioned brokers a couple times. For those of us who don't have the firepower that Brandon does, or the time, to be honest, there are some great brokers out there that are very specific to storm footage. And you still get an excellent cut, which is, by the way, also negotiable. But the other beautiful thing I think about brokers is if you license it exclusively through them, they will watch to make sure your content is not stolen because that's in their best interest as well. So it's a second set of eyes and someone who is actually set up to fight for your content, where you're not just sort of swimming through this by yourself. I also want to mention what I call the sub brokers, which have proliferated over the last like 3 or 4 years. So those are like the storyfuls and the viral hogs and the viral snares and the whatever, where they will send either bots or people, or I can't honestly tell the difference sometimes, out to troll video everywhere, social media. I've been hit up on Instagram a lot recently, which is weird. um, who basically will reach out and say, we want to license your content, like lucky you. We'll offer you a cut and we'll send it to all these big websites and like, look at us making money for you. Those are the ones in particular I would recommend really carefully reading the fine print as well, because what I found out the hard way with Storyful for something that I didn't think had a lot of value but turned out to have some value is not only do they take a cut, but they also charge you €100 fee, which is buried in the fine print. So if you sell some video for $200-300 and your cut is taken out, and then they take out their €100 fee just for existing, they basically have made money and you get nothing. In fact, like one response I got one time was, actually, you technically owe us. Like, because you aren't able to pay this entire fee. And it's like, so now I just say no, period, across the board. You may not have this, you may not. But also, like, I do work with a broker because I don't have time to do a lot of this stuff, nor figure out what should be sold where. But at a minimum, educating yourself and having the wherewithal to know, for example, the difference between what Brandon is describing, which is the same, you've got the same video that 1,000 other people have gotten, or you've got something, you're the only one there, it's very unique and very timely, and you've got to get it out fast to the right people, essentially, which is where I think a broker can come in very handy. So we are not necessarily, I think, advocating any one particular route here. You should do what's best for you. Some people are very comfortable selling video on their own. Great. Like by all means, please do that. Some have monetized YouTube. I mean, there's all different ways, I think, to do that. Like we've said, there's no necessarily right way, but figuring it out first is probably the best route. Yes, Brandon?
it is, and I'm going to expand your Storyful contract.
Oh, cool.
They can also give away your video for promotional use. Translate. We're going to give it to the 8,500 media companies that subscribe to us monthly and pay us monthly for a subscription. But that doesn't technically count as a sale.
Right.
Then it says you can earn up to a maximum value of €1,800. So even if they sell it to 1,000 different places at $1,000 a piece, you only max out at 2,800 for your cut. And you're giving up a lot of the copyright rights to it. You're not actually giving up the copyright, but the defense of it. Uh, what and there are plenty of brokers out there. One question I would have everybody ask her if you know the brokers for real or not. Do you allow redistribution of the content in your licenses? If they allow content to be redistributed, run, run. That'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yep. Yep. Transparency, I think, is another big one. That's really the other issue I have with the sub brokers is there's no way for you to know what they're selling, how much they've made off of it, right? So when they give you your cut, if they do, you have no way of knowing if that's actually if the maths really.
Right.
And that's been my biggest issue with them outside of all this, we charge you a fee here, we do these weird things here, we add in language that says, so they're basically, it's kind of it's just a racket they're running where
Oh yeah.
sometimes you'll make money off of stuff and some people swear by them and have stuck by them and are very happy with their arrangement and that is wonderful for them. But even just based on this conversation, they are probably losing thousands and thousands of dollars off of that. So if it is something you care about, or if that is how you fund your livelihood, probably not, probably not the way to go with
Yeah,
those guys.
look, it's hard. It's a tough world to learn all this stuff. There's no seminar, there's no class, right? So you
Yep.
can't get on YouTube and learn this stuff. You can ask AI, but AI is not sure about your industry niche, right? It's different. You don't know. So I think transparency on the broker side in helping people is big too. Now, if you're calling up a broker every time you shoot a piece of video saying, "Hey, what should I charge for this?" and "What terms should I use?" Well, at that point, you should be paying the broker. So don't do that. But if you have a viral piece of content and want to have a serious conversation, reach out to one. They
Mm-hmm.
will help you. That is
Mm-hmm.
that is their job. Um, and you can decide at that point. But I really would have a plan going in place. But it's a double-edged sword too. Um, a broker doesn't want to have to go through the process of signing a client, onboarding a client, and that client never having a sellable piece of work. It's just work for them and no money. So if you haven't sold before and you're not expecting to, and then suddenly catch this one piece of viral content, um, you may have to wait until you catch that piece of viral content. But
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
that's a thing. So
Yeah. I sometimes will go for years without producing anything saleable and then just get something nuts. That's, I think, everybody has their own process. And I will say too, the way that I learned about all of this was honestly via other chasers who were kind enough to share. I think that there's a little bit of a unspoken proprietariness to this in the chase community because there's a little bit of competition. Um, and I I think the way that we make each other better and the way we over time make our stuff valuable is by having kind of a community wide agreement to continue to say no at the right times and push harder and ensure that everyone to some degree is protected. But at the end of the day, a lot of the benefit that we've gained from learning from experts like Brandon is just because folks have been nice enough to share this information with us, more or less. So, um, the one place I think right now that we have, other than our Twitter spaces, which one of these days, if I ever have time, I'm going to post on our podcast, the recorded Twitter spaces, because I have them, is Spring Training 2023. Melanie Metz did a talk on video and video sales and what things are worth and what sells and that type of thing. We can certainly redo that in a live. So if you all would like that, please reach out. I think our next conversation on this front will probably be around licensing with Beth and how to read license agreements. I don't know that anyone has really talked about that. And I'm a big fan of upsetting people who try to make money off of us. So this is a good one. So we'll keep you posted on that. But I know we're kind of getting into time here, so I want to switch to AI for a second because this is sort of the new arrival for us. And Brandon mentioned some situations where we even had chasers whose likenesses were either redistributed or edited over. He sent me an example of somebody, and it was absolutely horrifying, the way that they appeared in the video. So if you would, Brandon, maybe introduce a little bit of what we are talking about when we say AI when it comes to storm chasing, and then how we're dealing with it, at least based on what we know now.
Sure. If you have that link, I can't seem to find it now. The one, the Rigsby
The
one.
one you sent me, I'll,
Yes.
I'll see if I can hunt it down while you're
Yeah.
talking.
If you can find that, and you show it.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
appalling.
yeah. It's a pretty disturbing moment. Um, yeah. So AI, like every industry, is disruptive. It's got um, benefits that we can use, and for some industries, like the software industry right now, is being upended and completely destroyed from top to bottom. Uh, I think we're closer to that industry on the video side and photo side because AI is creating a product that directly competes with us. And right now, people, particularly of the elder type, can't determine the difference. It's a newer technology, and you're seeing it on Facebook, and your older audiences are not able to understand the difference between AI and real video. 2 years ago, AI couldn't get the number of fingers right. It couldn't spell school bus on the side of a school bus. It was kind of a laughing stock of junk. But in the last 8 to 9 months, video has taken a huge leap forward. One of the reasons is the large language models being trained by AI have kind of hit a stall point. So they, in order to better their newer platforms, they focused on other things that had room for improvement. That room for improvement was videos. Videos has made a big leap forward. The next thing I'm expecting it to be is for graphics. We're expecting graphics to make a big leap forward on AI very shortly. Uh, when you're seeing AI videos, there are companies out there that are average viewership on a Facebook reel is something like 10 to 12 million on these AI generated, properly timed postings, usually during disasters or something. They go super viral. They drown out the real stuff 10 to 1. It's not even close to. We're living in an alternate reality when disasters happen right now. You guys may not see it because you're all friends with storm chasers and your feed is full of storm chaser stuff. But for the average person, when they log on to social media and they start looking at weather videos, 4 out of 5 are going to be AI generated garbage, and they can't tell the difference. So that's where we are as a society right now. I do think that everything ebbs and flows and tides come in and out, and I think the tide's in right now, and in a couple of years it's going to push the opposite direction. But until that happens, it's yeah, we have competition from somebody that can create any scene they want, break any news they want, anytime that they want. How do you compete with that? All right, I'm gonna shut up and let Jen show this beautiful piece of work. This is all AI generated from some random person in, I think when we struck it was Vietnam or something. But
So this is Aaron Rigsby, for those of you who know Aaron. And also for those of you who know Aaron, you know that even this face that I'm showing on the screen is so strange. I'm going to just hit play on this for a few seconds so you all can see this, but it is pretty wild what AI. So again, this is an AI distortion. This is not actually Aaron, but this is part of what we're seeing
across Ohio, with the greatest impact centered around the Columbus metropolitan area. Early forecasts initially emphasized
even this video is AI. It's his
accumulation
video, but
and
they watched it through AI.
Yeah, let me see if I can
So
find
everything in here
another.
is Aaron's video. They just watched it through AI.
It's so
It's just
wild. But the video of Aaron driving with this sort of like angry face is the part that blows me away the most. I think that was it. It was just the
A powerful
part.
winter storm has brought widespread disruption across Ohio, with the greatest impact centered around the Columbus metro.
Anyway.
So we're seeing thousands of channels like this, thousands on YouTube. Usually the same 4 or 5 people, same groups. Like I said, Vietnam, Pakistan, Iran, um, Cambodia have the biggest concentrate. Russia too has a big concentration, and that's how they're making money. They don't care if it's real. They don't care if it's helpful. They don't care if it harms people. They don't care any of that. As long as it puts money in their account, that's their only goal. And AI is making it really easy for them. So once they ran all that through AI, they just took Aaron's video, made him angry, and then ran it through AI, kind of cleansed it to where automatic detection can't pick it up. But the problem we're seeing with it is we're very limited on what we can do. If there's 1,000 of these channels, and each time, each piece of video that they steal, you have to file a lawsuit that costs you $1,000, and you're never going to really identify these people. It's a big problem, and it's a problem that the social media platforms can absolutely do something about. When these people are counter notifying, they're filling out fake legal documents, and Google's supporting that. They are defending them. They're saying, no, we can't say that that's not really who this is, that this fake name, address, and fake attorney that they're giving in Tennessee doesn't exist. We can't tell you their real name and identity. It'd be a violation of their privacy. So Google also has that power and authority, and they're supposed to be suspending accounts that are fake counter notifying, and they're seeing that these are fake counter notifications, and they're ignoring it for profit. So when I like to call out X, I like to call out Meta, I like to call out YouTube, I like to call out every one of them, because they're all in on this. They're all working these little gray areas and dumping tons of money to prevent progress with copyright law in order for them to monetize your content and take that revenue. So while they look like they're out there for creators on one side, they're over here on the other, just raking it in for themselves. And it's evil. But AI it should be a really easy solution, that if AI content's not identified, that they should not be allowed to post it. It should be a termination. Like, you can't just make crap up. It's not okay. But for some reason here in the last, I don't know, 16 months, all of a sudden we swung from trying to really having honesty on social media and fact checking to all of it's a violation of First Amendment rights somehow, when the violation that's occurring is widespread theft and is destruction of U.S. businesses from foreign accounts, from bad acting parties and bad acting countries. But AI is going to continue to be exploited that way. It's going to continue to worsen. Um, the only way I think this changes is through mass lawsuits. Some of these companies know it's illegal what they're doing. They know they're going to get sued, and they've already set aside billions of dollars to pay for those lawsuits, because they know the amount of money they're going to have to pay on lawsuits is minor compared to the amount of money they're going to take in. It's just the cost of doing business. So the way I see it is the social media companies are setting money aside for us to go get. They're making it hard for us to go get the money we earn, but it's there for us. So if they're gonna play that game, then we have to go after them to make it stop. And AI is going to, it's, boy, next big disaster. It's gonna blow people's minds. It's gonna blow it away. They have no idea what's in store.
I mean, I think we've seen a little bit of that already. We saw a little bit with the snowstorm that you mentioned, like full scenes and or people just being made up, which, is not great for us as content creators, but even worse for people who need information to make life or death decisions. And I think, unfortunately, that puts the onus even more on the consumer in a way, because you have to be even more careful where you're getting your information from and make sure that it's a trusted source. And that's not something that we as content creators can necessarily control, other than trying to manage, obviously, the misuse of our own likeness, or a scenario like what we just shared with Rigsby.
Yeah, I work with no less than 7 disaster response teams, different charitable organizations, disaster response. I help them pre-storm determine where the highest impact to population is going to be, where they should stage, and then after the storm, send them pictures and photos and direct reports of where help is needed on the ground. Every one of them said the same thing in Hurricane Melissa. Same exact thing. We don't know what's real or fake anymore. And I'm telling you, that's the tip of the iceberg. Next big tornado or hurricane, ooh, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. Nobody's gonna know what's real.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like this isn't something necessarily that we can do much about, other than continue to build trust with our own followers and communities.
No, and look, I think it opens up an opportunity for us to help build a bigger and more trusting community, because when these videos come out and people get duped and people get fooled and they look, when you start sharing something that didn't happen and people realize it and you feel like an idiot, it's not a good feeling. People aren't going to like that feeling for long, and they're going to start looking for trusted sources. I think it's going to happen both in media organizations. I mean, just wait till ABC World News leads off their show with something fake. Like, the backlash from that is going to be so tremendous that they're going to really want to turn to trusted sources. And it's just a matter of time. You're already seeing some of it happen on a small scale, but when a really big incident happens and one of these news networks leads their story with it and gets duped, then and the amount of time and money they're going to have to spend to research and determine what's real and what's not, it's going to turn their attention towards trusted sources that they know are legitimate. So it's going to help us in some ways. In the short term, I see it being catastrophic for our industry. In the long term, I actually see it a net positive, but it's going to take some time.
I'm not even going to ask you what you mean by short term.
3 years.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And I think I've already seen some chasers marking content as not AI. I've had some interesting commentary, as I'm sure have folks with any type of social media following. On the Girls Who Chase platform, occasionally I'll post a photo and someone will just stop through to comment and say, well, that's AI. But then they turn out to be the same person who is liking my favorite AI generated photo of a rainbow colored tornado jellyfish creature in Utah. That, oh, look at this tornado in Utah, right? It's got 30,000 plus likes on it. And you're like, you really got fooled by this? And you stopped by to say that a real photo instead. I mean, that's where, again, it's like, there's not much we can do about that other than to say this isn't AI. And I mean, we're a platform that generates real photography. So you be discerning. And I think, there's a whole other conversation that's going on now about the value that chasers and storm chasing content producers bring to meteorologists who are, whether it's local broadcast mets or people who are in the process of warning around something that's going on, in that there's an enormous amount of value to be brought. The YouTuber model, some of the live streaming platforms are seeing that, where folks are somewhat distrustful, I think, of the National Weather Service or sort of government standard information, but are more accepting of it, at least if they can actually see it in the real, or right, because then you get things like siren fatigue, folks who hear sirens all the time and don't really think twice about it, who live in Tornado Alley, et cetera, et cetera. So those are other conversations to be had, I think, at some point, but it's very much, I think, a conversation that the meteorology and storm chasing communities are engaged in right now, on from all angles. And the immense value that is brought by live streamers. Brandon mentioned earlier in our conversation about people who've mentioned it saved their life because they saw something coming and took shelter.
Yeah, no, I can't. The last 3 years, I very rarely hear anybody say, "Hey, I was watching TV." Just don't hear it anymore.
Yep.
You know, I was watching this storm chaser. It's almost, I'm not going to say 100%, but probably greater than 80%. I was watching this storm chaser or this person on YouTube using a storm chaser's feed, and it hits different when you can see the tornado instead of just hearing an alarm about it. You know, I've gone back and argued that May 3rd, 99 probably had 10 times less deaths and fatalities than it should have because everybody could see the tornado. Same thing for the Tuscaloosa and Birmingham tornado. Yeah, those were deadly tornadoes, but those were high-end, violent, long-track tornadoes hitting multiple highly densely populated areas, and the fatality count could have been much higher. But they could see the tornadoes for a long duration before. Those save lives. So yeah, that's definitely something we're hearing constantly now. We hear it every single disaster. Uh, you know, even some of my aerial photos after I've probably showed over the years tens of thousands of people whether or not their house is still standing that evacuated. And even when they lose it or they had their home or was damaged, every single time they're thankful. They say that not knowing is the worst thing. You know, hey, at least I know my home's gone. Now I can start preparing to deal with what comes next. Hey, now I know my home's damaged. I can even see where the roof damage was, and I can use your video to give to my contractor so he can start getting materials ready to get the house fixed. Hey, my house made it. Thank you so much. We can come home. Like, you have no idea how impactful our video is to people. They will scavenge the internet looking for this stuff to find out because they're evacuated areas, don't know if their house is still standing. You would too. Imagine if you didn't know. Like, you would be searching up and down. That's all they do. It's all they worry about. And even if we're giving them the bad news, we're giving them closure. Like, we're let them go to that next step. So I hear other chasers like, "Oh, you're just flying a drone over people's houses, and oh, how horrible of you." I'm like, you know, you're on the couch calling me horrible, and all the people in the area seeing their homes for the first time are thankful. So who's the idiot right now? You know, like, we need to stop being so judgmental towards each other and looking for reasons to call people out and failing to understand how we're helping. Um, as a community as a whole, as chasers. Uh, it's in 2016. I was in Columbus, South Carolina. They had devastating floods, and I was shooting video out the car window. This guy pulling furniture out of his house, and he got so mad. He turns to me and goes, "You media are such scum, sitting here filming this. You know, us South Carolina people, every time a disaster happens anywhere in the country, we're right there to support money or go volunteer to help clean up." I said, "Sir, how did you hear about those disasters?" He got quiet. He just nodded his head like that, went back about his business. So your awareness in your video, I can argue that I had a Mayfield tornado shot of the sign that came back up over the town that ended up getting used by charitable organizations that drove. They had so much stuff being donated to the city. They had to go use some of the money that was donated to them to buy electronic signs to tell semis not to stop and take it to the next town. They had nowhere to put it. They had so much stuff off of a 17-second video clip. So I was like, "Oh, you're out there shooting video. Why don't you help?" Well, I don't think I can do with my hands what I did with my drone that day. Like, there's no way. There's no way. So, you know, the judgmental stuff and all the ideas of you're getting in the way, you're not helping. If you're out there doing the right thing, then you're helping in ways that you cannot possibly add with a calculator. It does huge things, and the communities appreciate us. And the chasers that missed the tornado that day that are mad on the couch and calling you out for it are clueless about the actual real world. And it's just kind of silly that we put ourselves in that mindset and we cannibalize each other. Um, so that read contracts, register your work. I can't preach those things enough. That we are in a very good industry that's got potential to produce a lot of jobs, and a lot of people here can be making a full-time living, a healthy living doing this. But as long as we're doing simple little things like giving away video, or calling each other out on social media for dumb stuff, or um, undercutting the market, it's just, that's where we are. We're going to let other people continue to make our money.
I think we are starting to see a turn both in that regard and relative to media and emergency responders being more open to having a conversation about working together and what that looks like. I'm seeing it inside of the meteorology associations, and I think the more distrustful we get of um, the National Weather Service and other government entities, the more responsibility and weight gets put on the content producers who are doing the actual reporting. So it is a responsibility, I think, for all of us to make sure we're all headed in the right direction. But those of us like me, for example, I think the responsibility is to make sure that I'm being a conduit for the type of information and advisement that you have to provide. So there's also a responsibility inside the chaser community and more broadly the meteorology community to make sure that the right people are having these conversations, that the information is getting where it needs to go. We're all kind of responsible here. I do want to wrap up. We're a little bit over time, and I know Brandon's got stuff to do. He is in Thailand, and it is early in the morning, so God only knows where he's headed next. I have a question here about brokers. I think from Ash. Reach out if you would just DM me. I'm happy to answer the question. So the question was, how do brokers find you? How do you know when you're good enough to work with a broker? Let's talk offline about that. I'm more than happy to answer that question, as well as other questions about brokers. And clearly, this is a conversation that we need to continue. So we will do that. And thank you, Brandon, for your time and insight, and all the great info. This whole thing has been recorded. So if you missed part of it, or you missed the first half or whatever, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube shortly. And you can watch it as many times as you want. Hopefully you found it useful. And we will be back soon with another live. Brandon, I'm going to hit stop here. If you would hang out with me for just a moment, we can wrap up. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Appreciate your time and the great questions and conversation, and love, as always, how we all can learn from each other, and share information. So hope you all have a wonderful evening.